It is a mass of wires. So I was sawing yesterday and I noticed that my Lubrication pump, what a stupid name, is not Lubemizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey folks, welcome back to another edition of Sawing with Robert Milton here at the Hobby Hardwood. I'm Robert Milton. This is a sawmill, and it's not sawing right now. We're having a little bit of a breakdown. So one of the most overlooked facts of owning a sawmill business or owning a sawmill is if you are not a mechanic, you will soon become one. The more complicated the sawmill, the more skills you're gonna have in fixing things. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. Typically, sawmills are reasonably high maintenance items. I've owned 3. All of them required maintenance. All of them broke down. All of them have to be fixed, and unless you live very close to your dealer, you'll be the one fixing them. So I was sawing yesterday and I noticed that my Lubrication pump, what a stupid name, is not Lubemizing. Basically, as you run your band, it gets crud built up on it, and there's a little fancy windshield washer pump in the system right here, and it's designed to pump a metered amount of band cleaner onto your band. Some of the sawmills don't use a pump. Some use gravity feed. Some use a valve that you can open and close. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but the reality of it is it's just a little bit of solvent going on your band to keep your band clean so you can saw straight and clean. That's all you got to have. Now, in this case, in case of the Woodmizer LT70, since that's what I happen to own right now, I'm going to go through it a little bit about what I've got to do to rig it until my pump comes in a couple of days, because I got to keep sawing. Just because something stupid breaks down doesn't mean I got to stop sawing. I got to keep making money, especially a component like this. So I'm going to go through a few things that may be common on your sawmill. I don't know. Certainly if you have an LT70, yeah, this will be one way you could diagnose it. I don't think it's covered in the manual, other than if the Lubemizer's not working, replace some parts. But it's also a good opportunity to talk about how much lube you really need on a band. And it's typically very little. Stuff that you're putting on your sawmill band is really a cleaner. As long as your band is clean and your logs are moist, the moisture in the logs is going to keep your band cool. And if you can keep your band clean, that's all you got to do. Now, I've seen people who absolutely flush their band with lubricant as if they were in a machine shop, and that you don't do that. I've seen people use water. I've seen people use Dawn. I've seen people use the Lubrication version of Pine Sol. A lot of that stuff will work, don't get me wrong, but when you think about what it's actually used for, just crooked a little bit. Sorry if I was making y'all lean sideways. Because as a general rule, saws are made out of metal. Metal rusts. If you're using a lubricant with water in it, or that is water, that's typically not a good idea. If you're using a lubricant that has nothing but soap and water, then that's even a worse idea, simply because for the machine standpoint, whatever oil's on the machine, you're washing off with soap and water. If you don't recoat that, you're going to get some rust on bits and pieces. You're going to have bearing failures, like on your roller guides and stuff like that. Or you're going to notice you'll be sawing one day, come out 2 or 3 days later, and the whole thing is a big ball of rust. That's pretty common, especially on the roller guides and the bands. So I'm going to get into troubleshooting this thing. And the key to remember is, if you're wondering whether you're using the right band cleaner, lubricant, amount, whatever you want to call it, the band should be coming off your mill dull at the end of your sawing session as bright and shiny as it was when you put it on. It's that simple. You shouldn't be able to look at a band and see a bunch of crud built up on it after sawing. It shouldn't look like somebody's teeth if they've eaten 3 tuna fish sandwiches with peanut butter. There shouldn't be all that gunk in there. So if your bands are that clean and shiny, you're doing the right thing. If they're not, well, you know, you need to change, because it's just the way it is. However, that's not the topic of this video, at least as far as I know. We are going to convert this over to a gravity feed drip system. Hopefully it won't be that big of a deal, because gravity makes fluid flow downhill. Lube tank is up here. The application point on the band is down here. And I always recommend installing a small 1/4-inch valve on your lube tank line, no matter, for whatever reason. And this is a great reason, because I'll be able to meter this crudely till I get the right flow rate when I'm sawing. $10, Lowe's, Amazon, whatever. So this is really going to come in handy, because when I get the gravity feed set up, I'll be able to crudely meter it with this. Now, I don't know how accurate I'll be able to do it, because it's really a ball valve, but it's not like a needle valve, but it should work just fine for this, and I don't really need much. So for those of you who are wondering how I know the lube pump is bad, let's open this bad boy up, which I've already done. It is a mass of wires, and Woodmizer, I'm only going to say it once. See this? You should have a wiring diagram right here, just like any vehicle. When you open it up on the fuse box, you've got a fuse diagram. The Lubrication on an LT70 is this little guy. And the cool thing about that is that will let you know if you're being commanded, or if your pump is commanded to actually pulse. So as a general rule, anytime you're looking at fixing something, especially on something that's kind of computerized, you have to understand, or is it actually commanding the operation to work? And if so, is the voltage and current, for that matter, getting down to the thing that's not working? The cool thing about LT70, and it may be true of other sawmills, I don't remember on my 40, but whenever the Lubrication gets commanded to pump, this little light will blink intermittently. So every time a pulse comes, that light will blink, and that means that switch is being closed and power is being routed through those wires up through here and into the lube pump. The first thing we're going to do is fire the machine up. And yes, LT70 is the only way you can work the lube pump is with the machine running, which is just stupid. Woodmizer, take notes on that. Because when you're trying to diagnose something, you really don't want to have the mill screaming full blast right in your ear, which is what we have to do. So I'm going to put the camera right there and I'm going to show you the blinking light that indicates that we're getting a pulse to the pump. So let's set this thing up. First of all, let's start this thing. Oh, shit. And we've got another communications error, okay. And then in order to activate the Lubrication, this has to be running. I've got the lube set to maximum. Actually, we're gonna set that down just a little bit so you can see the pulsing. And then I'm gonna set the feed to 0 because unfortunately, in order for this machine to use the Lubrication, the machine has to be running, has to be full throttle, and you have to be feeding. If there is a way to not have to do that, please give me some comments because I haven't found it, but if there was a way to look through it, a way to do it, I would love for somebody to tell me how to do it. So anyway, we're going to fire everything up. I'm going to show you the little blinking light that indicates that the pump is being commanded and power is being routed to it. All right, so pump, and let's see here. Let's button this back up. We're gonna figure out a way to get this line right here to right here. So gravity will now feed it downhill and I got a drip. So I'm gonna take this off to build a little bit of an adapter, but it shouldn't take too long. We should at least be up and running. So this little hose right here, it's got a catch on it. Push up, pull that out to where I can reach the tank, which I can from there. That's good. Now hopefully I will have a rubber hose in my box of magical hoses. If you don't have a box of magic hoses, you need to go to your AutoZone and get some. Hopefully somewhere in here is a hose that may work, or a combination of hoses that may work. I think that may do it. This goes to my outboard motor. It's a water flushing device. I think it'll probably fit. Salvage what you can salvage, use what you can use. Now I got to get this to this 1/4 inch line. So here's what I was able to rig up. I found an old water hose outlet. Got some tubing on it. Some rubber tubing that fits right in there. Yes, it may leak. And hopefully this will fit tightly. Ooh, look at that. Jam it on in there pretty good. And then I should be able to put like a wire tie or something around that. And hopefully they won't leak. And all I have to do then is simply put that on. Guess I could use a radiator clamp, but wire ties are pretty easy. Kind of offset from each other. Tighten them up. Now I guess I got to see if this thing actually fits on there. Ooh, it's going right on. Excellent. When I open this, hey, let's see if gravity still works. We now have fluid leaking out like we're supposed to. I'm gonna shut it off. I'm gonna shut it off real quick. Nice. I wasn't actually sure that was gonna work. In this day and age, sometimes the natural laws of the universe just don't seem to be that effective. You can see it dripping out onto the ground. I need to stop it, but at least the lines are clear and that will drip on the band. So I need to shut that off and then I need to start playing with the valve position. So that all the drip you need on your band when you're using diesel. That may even be a little bit fast, but sure is better than nothing. I'll probably keep adjusting it, but the main thing is it's working. The main thing is it's gonna work, and the only problem I've got with it now is it's gonna keep dripping until I shut the valve. So I'm gonna see if I can't shut the tank valve off, because I really don't wanna have to go back and readjust that. It'd really be nice if I had two small valves. One was a needle valve and one was just a shut off, and I could adjust it. And then when I get it right, I could just shut the other valve off. So you may be wondering why I don't do this while I'm normally sawing, because the electronics allow it to shut off when the band's not running and the mill, that way I'm not losing fluid everywhere. So it's not something I really want to live with, but it's working. So this amount of sawdust right here, this caked sawdust, it doesn't look like much. Compare this to your mill. Compare this, and this caked on goo, compare this to yours. That is too much. And just that amount was causing my sawmill to cut waves. You want it perfectly clean, not that. And I know when I first started sawing, I was using all kinds of concoctions of just, like I say, Dawn and pine sol and water and windshield wiper cleaner and, you know, all kinds of stuff. And I couldn't get it to be that clean. I basically struggled trying to get it this clean, and that meant I struggled cutting straight and flat. I tried all kinds of concoctions when I first started doing this. I had a lot of trouble sawing straight and flat. My bands always looked like that. It wasn't until I started using the proper band cleaner and lubricant. Notice I did not say coolant, because there's enough coolant in the logs, as in moisture, to keep the bands cool as long as the band's staying clean. If the bands get dirty, the bands are going to heat up, you're going to cut waves. So think of your system as delivering a cleaner and lubricant to keep the pitch buildup. Really nothing better as lubricant and oil. Water is typically not a good lubricant, or you'd be putting it into your car and truck engines. So you don't go to the oil change place and say, please fill my engine up with water. Please fill my engine up with Dawn dishwashing soap. Please don't fill my engine up with antifreeze or windshield washer fluid. The best lubricant is an oil. The best oils have detergents in them. Even fuels like diesel fuel has a lot of detergent in it. Automatic transmission fluid, a lot of detergent. Anyway, you get the idea. And the cool thing is, if you switch to some oil-based band cleaner, then you will use a whole lot less. We're talking like fractions of the amount you were using. You won't have to keep filling up your lube tank. And I even know some folks who have kind of worked their diesel system so that they're pulling off a little bit of fuel off their diesel engine fuel line to use as a dripper on their band. That way they don't even have to use a separate lube tank, they just fill their diesel tank up. It's winter time, I start moving away from the cotton picker spindle oil or the water-based emulsion oils, just because you do run the risk of freezing. It's Alabama, we do freeze rarely, but later this week it's going to be about 17 degrees. So hope I'm helping y'all out. I'm going to start sawing some more logs. Remember, I'm doing this because I'm trying to teach people, I'm trying to help people out. If you have comments, please leave them. I try to answer them all. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe.
So I can hear a little bit of scratching on the band. I don't know if it came through on the video, but I increased the lube just that hair and it kind of went away. Sounding a lot better now. Band is running better. I upped the lube just a hair. We'll check it out later. I'm still not going real fast. Still not sure I trust it yet. I have a lot of people asking about chain turners and scratching up the faces of logs. So I'm going to do a whole video on chain turners and how not to scratch your logs up, but I do like using them as a toe board too. Take 3 off this side. Blade's still cutting pretty good. I can hear how quiet it is. Means it's not building up debris. Always put your 2-plane clamp lower than your backstop. That way, you know where your backstops are. You know you'll never hit your 2-plane clamp. Can you hear how the band is clean? It's not making much sound. That's what you want to hear. Oh, she's singing right now. You gotta love it when that band sings that E flat note. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can. It's wonderful. Getting some stress on that other face, so I decided to rotate it. Do one more rotation here. Okay, just saw it through. Probably not going to flip this one. Not seeing a lot of color. Last board on this log.
All right, let's look at this band. So I know I'm a little bit rich on the droplet count, so I'm seeing some drops there, but I think once the band is running, it's doing okay. Let's look at the band and see what oh man, yeah, look at that thing is just slick. So I could probably even cut back even a little bit more. That's what your band is supposed to look like. Mirror smooth, or at least shiny smooth. A little bit of film of oil on it, or lubricant, or cleaner, whatever you want to use. All this stuff I think wipes off. Yeah. A little bit on there is not bad because the next pass it's going to wipe it off. See that? So it's pretty clean. Actually, it's real clean. If you look at the rollers, you can see they're shiny clean. They should always be clean. The band is very clean. Everything looks pretty good. I think I'm still a little bit too much drip, simply because everything is really clean. And if it's clean, if it's enough, it's probably more than enough. So this next log, I'm gonna lower the drip even a little bit more, and I think that's the whole key is on any of these cleaners and lubricants, in order to stop wasting it or to be more economical or just just on the principle of it, start dialing it down as much as you can until you start to see some buildup. Since I'm seeing zero buildup, I can go down a little bit further and a little bit further, and it's typically a very slow drip. With the Lubemizer, it's a little bit better because when it sprays, goes through the spray tip, it atomizes it. You get a better coverage of the band. This is more just a drip, drip, drip. But it still seems to work pretty well. So all in all, I'm back up in operation, and the parts can show up. When they show up, I can keep sawing. Everything is good. What do you think, Chip? He said, "What, you wake me up, Dad?" He's a puppy. So, Chip, what do you think? Maybe next video we do one, or I don't know if it'll be the next video, but maybe one of the near future videos we do one on people that have just bought brand new sawmills and they're cutting really good for a week or two, or as soon as this company reps left, or very shortly thereafter, they're cutting like crazy. And they're waving and all kinds of weird stuff's going on, and as far as they know, nothing's changed, but obviously something has. Do you think that would be a good topic, Chippy? Chip, what do you think? I'm looking at you, dog. Huh? What do you think? Sure, Dad. He's like, don't bother me, I'm sleeping here. All right, I'll just rub your ear. How's that sound? Yeah, okay, you kind of like that. Ooh.
Yeah, the funny thing about band lubricants, people think that they're really for cooling. The reality is there's so much water in a log, it really doesn't need cooling. It needs cleaning. So I can hear this one with my dripper just got a little bit too dry. I'm going to finish this cut and I'm going to up my flow rate just a little bit. It's kind of hissing. I don't like the hiss, that means it's rubbing. So actually I'm gonna do, when you have the right amount of lubrication on the fan, you'll hear it kind of hit quiet. Because it's really metal on metal. And with metal on metal, if it's dry, you'll hear it. I'm going kind of slow right here because I still don't have it making the sound that I want, which is problematic because when you saw slow, then you're leaving a less quality cut. But in this case, I just got to deal with it. But right now, the band is making a very clean, slick sound. Kind of hard to describe, but it just sounds right. Take a couple more cuts. Should be a little bit of an E flat note, like a ringing. The engine should load up a little bit. Because that's the whole point of having horsepower. So as I'm stacking this wood, I'm seeing way too much sawdust. Now, this is too much. Some people, this would be hardly anything, but this indicates I'm going a little bit too slow. The good news is that it's dry. You should never have wet sawdust. If you're putting on so much blade lube that your sawdust is packing up like cornbread mix, then you're putting on way too much fluid. Simply because sawdust, like any wood fiber, will swell in the presence of fluid, and especially water. Another reason I don't like water. And when it swells up, it packs sawdust. You always want to get this nasty seaweed looking bark out. It'll hang your hydraulics, or in this case, my clamp, and rotate it. Or you'll blow a hydraulic line. Alrighty, let's get the log loader arms down. Set the clamp up a little bit. You'll notice I'm still in my 90 degrees pattern of stress crack horizontal and perpendicular to the saw blade so I can manage my stress. I just did a video on that. Tell you what, if you've got any kind of a mill with a hydraulic board return and you have not put on these hobby hardwood fingers that allow you to not only pull the board back, but it allows you to carry the board, you're missing out. I'm going to do one more on this side. Give me a 7 and 13/32. You can always tell if your saw is sawing flat. I'm going to go ahead and stop what I'm doing and set my pattern for 1 1/8. So when I pull this across the board, it should be almost zero cut. You can see what's just basically skimming the top of the board. It may not be the best camera angle, but you can see that basically the band was cutting flat along the entire length and it wasn't picking any pieces up. And my next drop will be the board. I'm not even done with the log yet. Look how pretty it is. These are real pretty. Anyway, I get a lot of questions about why you always see me rotate the pith down. So that's the pith, right? And the reason is because there's always some stress in the log. I mean, you can see it. The log, even as thick as it is, sometimes has a curve. And also this is where, when you're running out of wood, you're gonna have to set the clamp. Clamp may damage the last board. It's called a dog board, by the way. The bottom board on the deck is always the one that's gonna be the worst shape and flatness. So right here, I got these beautiful boards up on top. The last thing I want to do is leave them on the deck and saw down through them. So in this case, I flip the ugliest boards, the ones with the most defects, on the deck. That's a general rule. And then put your best boards up where you can see them and cut them and make them look good. Here's something else that's kind of interesting. See these strings? That is one indication my band is getting dull. I've sawn quite a few logs on this guy. When you start seeing strings come out, the band is still cutting pretty fast and flat. But when you see these strings, that's one of your first indications. Your band's teeth are not shearing the way they should be. And that's an indication of you're kind of starting to dull up. So anyway, we're gonna rotate the dog board down, the pith down. We're gonna make sure we get the best boards, because these are the best boards. We're gonna drag them back, and we're gonna be happy about it, because sawing's fun, and it makes me happy. Anyway, let's get a new camera shot. As we get further on down, you may actually see the cant start to jack up off the bed, and that's normal. As you start to get lower down and into the pith, where the boards are the ugliest. So we're going to bring this down till it's about 6 inches tall. And then we'll rotate it. Get all the good boards. I need one more board. Right at 6 1/4, that's about perfect on this height. Pull these back. Jog up a little bit, bring them back. So this is a good cut. Another good board. It's starting to stress over a little bit. Slow down on this one. And let's get that last one and see what it looks like.
No big deal. Anyway, I got another log or 3 to saw here, and I will let y'all go, and we will see you folks next week. Don't work too hard, okay, Chip? Okay. Chip and I will see you next week. Thanks for visiting our sawmill. Click on the links above to see more of our videos.